Welcome. This is the Enlightenment Show, and I'm your host, Laurie Schoenfeld. This is where Chicken Soup for the Soul meets the artist way with Nancy Drew. Our guest today is Lisa Hepner, author of The Christmas Checklist. We're going to be chatting with her today all about her book and a time when love supported her through grief. Hello, Lisa. Welcome.
Hi, Laurie. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I am so happy to have you here, and I'm super excited that we're showcasing and celebrating red. And
yeah, exactly. We were saying earlier we didn't get the memo. We didn't plan it this way, but we're matching.
It worked out fabulously.
Getting ready for Christmas, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And it's that time as Thanksgiving is this week and Christmas is right around the corner.
Yeah.
Do you have your Christmas stuff up typically before Thanksgiving or after? Like, what does that look like for you?
Yeah. So it's interesting. Normally I wait till Thanksgiving weekend, like after Thanksgiving, and put it up. But my dad, we're going to be talking about grief today and the movie that was inspired by losing my mom. But I also just lost my dad on November 8th. So just like 12 days ago, after a long battle with Alzheimer's. It was grueling. And so I'm grieving once again. And I love Christmas so much that I felt that I needed some joy because I was so sad. So I've been putting, like you can see the blanket behind me, and I've been putting things up early because I just need to feel like I need to surround myself with joy. And so I normally don't do it this early, but I have been putting things up just because it brings me joy. So
I'm sending a lot of love and support your way.
Thank you.
Through this time. It's very interesting how the different layers of grief that move at different times and with different people and different seasons.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. Can you share with our listeners and viewers, Lisa, what the Christmas checklist is all about?
Yeah. So I mentioned, so my mom passed away in 2019 after a long battle with pancreatic cancer. And after we lost her in June. And then, of course, that Christmas rolled around. And, the holidays are normally a joyous time for most people. But they can also be a very difficult, challenging time for anyone who's experienced loss or any kind of financial difficulty or health challenge. So I was grieving my mom, and I just needed an outlet to kind of channel my grief. And as a screenwriter, I came up with a story idea that was giving me comfort because I didn't kind of know what to do with myself. So I wrote a story. It was a screenplay first, and it's turned into a movie that's airing this year. But I also wrote the novel version. It's basically about a daughter, which is basically me, right, who lost her mom and is not sure how she's going to make it through that first Christmas without her mom. And she finds this envelope from her mom that contains a Christmas checklist that has 12 activities that her mom wants her to do before Christmas. And so it was kind of an outlet for me. I feel like it's an inspirational story because it shows like what the character and what I was going through as you're grieving, like the anger, the fear, the guilt, like all these emotions that you're going through. But I also needed something positive. Like I needed to, work towards something and get out of that drama and get out of that pain. And so the Christmas checklist was kind of an idea of like 12 activities that would at least help me. And I'm hoping they'll help others kind of transmute that pain a little bit and maybe find some peace or some comfort or even some joy in the middle of that pain.
Mm-hmm. How did you come up with the different items on the checklist, Lisa?
Yeah. So my mom didn't leave me a checklist, so that, that part was purely fictional, but my mom had a big heart, and she was like just the kind of person that would give you the jacket off her back or whatever if you were cold. And she was a kind, caring person. And so I remember this quote. There was this author, his name is Richard Paul Evans, and he wrote The Christmas Box and the Noel Diary. And he had a quote that went something like, the best cure for a broken heart is to use it. And so that always resonated with me. And then as I was grieving, I was really, because your heart's absolutely broken when you're grieving, and you don't, it's like you don't, almost don't know what to do. And I thought of that quote, like the best cure for a broken heart is to use it. And so the activities on the Christmas checklist are about finding ways to be of service, to other people, to the community, but they're also about being service to yourself, like self-love and self-care and nurturing yourself. Because sometimes when, we're grieving and we're sad, we don't, we neglect ourselves, and we need to nurture ourselves and do things that bring us joy and bring us comfort and bring us peace. So that's kind of where all the activities came from.
Out of all of the items on that list, which one do you think would stretch you the most?
Yeah, so there's a very difficult one, and I'm a work in progress, and I'm human, and I'm still dealing with it. But one of the items that's really deep on the Christmas checklist is forgive a grudge. We all have grudges or issues, maybe with family members, friends, with something that we're holding on to from the past. And I think when someone you love dies, you realize the impermanence of life, and you realize how short life is, and that life is just too short to hold grudges. And I firmly believe that, but yet it's also hard, right? There's some deeper rooted grudges that we have. And, I'm still working through those. And so that's probably the hardest one, because I did try to do all the activities on the checklist myself. And I still, am working. Again, I'm a work in progress. I have a therapist, and I'm working on some, deep rooted grudges that I have from the past. And so I'd say that was probably the most difficult one, but I believe it's so necessary to try to work on forgiveness and releasing the past.
Yes, I would agree with you on that. I'm still working on that too. I'm still a work in progress.
Yes.
You learn, and then you step back sometimes a little bit, and then come back in,
Exactly. It's not like you just snap. It's not like you can just, have it be gone. It's a definite work in progress.
You've written multiple screenplays, but this one definitely is special to you in a different way. What did you enjoy most about the process of writing this book?
Yeah. Again, it was a release for me because, I think if there's any artists or, especially with your show and your audience, there's probably a lot of artists and creative people. And I think that sometimes when we feel pain, we sometimes put our art, put ourselves into our art, whether we, paint a picture of our loved one, or a landscape that they loved, or write a story that resonates with us. So I think just the writing itself of the story about my mom and about my grief, what I was going through, was very cathartic. And it was a way of kind of releasing that, and also hoping that maybe other people would be going through the same things. Because again, I've experienced loss in the past, but nothing like, the loss I felt, losing my mom and now my dad. It's intense. And I didn't realize all the little stages that you go through and all the things that happen. And so I kind of wanted to, I knew for myself that I didn't see a lot of movies or stories that really dealt with grief that I could relate to. And so I thought, maybe somebody else can see that, like, they're not alone. Like when you see this character, like in the novel and in the movie, the character has this outburst of anger, because like you get these outbursts, like when somebody's like complaining about something that's so seemingly insignificant, about like, oh, I ordered a pair of black pants on Amazon and I got charcoal gray, and that's like the world is ending, and you're like, my mom just died, like that's like insignificant. And I guess I just wanted other people to feel also that they weren't alone. Like they see that anger outburst and they're like, I've had that moment where I just want to like, how can you complain about this when, something so much bigger has happened? And anyway, I'm just hoping people can relate to some of the things that the character and myself, went through in that story.
I loved, Lisa, the layers that you had in your book of all the different stages of grief that we got to see. And it's so interesting is there were multiple moments where I cried because I understood and I related, but I also laughed out loud.
Yeah.
After where I was like, oh yeah, where when we don't want to go out and we don't want to be seen and we think we keep ourselves hidden. And those seem to happen to be the moment that we run into people that we're like, we don't want to talk.
Right.
We don't want to see us.
Right. Right.
But here they are.
Right. and like I said, and usually in my head, I don't like if you're grieving and you're going through this huge drama and pain and somebody's rambling on about something that you perceive as insignificant. Of course it's not to them, but it's like you just want to like have this outburst. And of course I never have done that in real life, but it was kind of like nice to think about, well, maybe in real life this character in the story could like just have this outburst and just be like, hey, and say what she wanted to say, and just maybe you'll have a good laugh at it. Maybe you'll be like, I wish I could have said that at that time or whatever. But yeah.
I love how you mentioned that, how you felt like there were things you wished that you could do, but you weren't ready to do. And so you placed that within your character and had your character do
exactly. My character is a little braver than me, right?
Did that make you feel more brave though, when you were putting those pieces of yourself that you didn't feel ready to share yet within your character? Did that in a way kind of help you to open up spaces or understand yourself a little bit better through your character?
I think so. I think because it gave me that space between me and that character, right? So it's like when you're seeing yourself, like when like one thing you mentioned was a lot of times with grief you can be overcome with fear. Like I had this fear and I have it again now. And I had it when my mom passed, but because we realized that, life is short and that you can lose your loved one, like after my mom passed and now after my dad passed, I've become overcome with fear. Like my husband will go out and run an errand and I'm like, be careful, like watch out for all the people on the road. And like, I find myself getting really worked up about like, oh my gosh, I can't handle it. If anything happens to you, like be safe. And it's like, I realized that I did put that in my book and my character. And then I can almost look at it like from a different perspective, like, okay, my character did that. I'm doing that. It gives you a little space to kind of like be the observer of what's going on. It doesn't mean that I don't still get those fear and I still have those anger emotions or whatever I'm feeling, but it gives you a little bit of a perspective to where you can like look at it like you're observing yourself and saying, okay, this is the natural grief response. I'm feeling fear because of course anybody would feel fear after you lose a loved one, right? So yeah, it does help you get that perspective.
We have a comment coming in for you. Hello, Judith Andrews. Bless you, Lisa. I loved your book. Hello, Judith. Thank you for joining us today. This is a fantastic book for book club to have these kind of conversations as well as we all go through grief in some form during the holidays. So thank you for opening up this discussion that's very much needed.
Yeah. And I hope it does. I hope it does provide that outlet. Because I mean, like you mentioned, I do write Christmas romance and I write like sweet, sappy, like escapism stories, right? Because we all want to escape into a great Christmas romance. But I did realize that there is this need for people that aren't, feel like putting on a sweet romance, and they are grieving. Like since my dad passed, I just rewatched my own movie just to like give me a cry and like help inspire me. So I'm hoping that it does serve a need for people.
Why do you think, Lisa, that people are so intrigued not only with watching Christmas movies, but watching Christmas movies that connects two characters to their heart?
Yeah, yeah. Well, Christmas movies, first, like I said, and the reason I started writing them is they're a huge escape, right? They always have a happy ending. And that's what I love about them. Because, like, for example, my mom had kind of a 3 year battle with cancer, and it was grueling. Like, there was chemotherapy appointments. She broke her hip, and she had surgery, and she was recovering. Like, there was so many ups and downs in that. And I feel like what we did is we used Christmas movies to escape, because she'd have like a chemotherapy appointment. She'd come home, she'd be nauseated, she'd be feeling sick. We'd go upstairs and we'd lie down in her bed, and we would watch Christmas movies so that we could escape into this la la fun romantic kind of world and not think about our current reality, if that makes sense. And so I think that's why they're popular, because there's also a lot going on in the world right now, and sometimes it gets overwhelming, and sometimes you just need to surround yourself with something that's like an escape, that has a happy ending. So does that answer your question a little bit about?
Yes, yes. Did the world in that moment with you and your mom just stop?
Yeah, I mean, it does. It takes you out of, like I said, it takes you out of, whatever circumstance you're going through. And like the big thing about us, me and my mom, because we're girls and we like, there's the leading man on Hallmark movies. And so we would just like lie in bed and be like, oh, he's cute, isn't he? And she'd be like, oh, he's cute. If I was 20 years younger or whatever. And so it was just kind of fun, like playful, like, there was nothing heavy in these movies or anything. They were just playful. And so you would, and granted, it may be only that 2 hours, but that 2 hours, you forgot about everything else. You were just present watching this movie and laughing and enjoying the Christmas baking and all the Christmas activities, and maybe even remembering your own past together, and like, oh yeah, remember how we would decorate for Christmas and we would bake cookies or whatever. And so it was also a way of like discussing current things that we loved about Christmas, and some of our traditions and rituals. And so I think those movies are just a great escape and a great bonding experience, because they're also intergenerational. Like, you watch them with your grandmother or your mom or your daughter or whoever. So
Ooh, I love that. And I just kind of got the chills when you said that, because it's very true. Is those are the shows you watch, your grandma watches with you or your mom watches with you, and then you pass it down to your generation, and they just keep moving down with that connection, songs and movies.
right. Yeah.
And you all take something a little bit different too as you're
Mhm.
holding that piece.
Yeah. And it can be a way to remember, even after they're gone. It can be a way to remember, like when you're watching a Christmas movie and you'll see a scene of them baking or them building a snowman. Maybe you'll remember, oh, I used to do that with my mom or my grandma, or she took me ice skating. Or so it can, conjure up lovely memories as well.
Mm-hmm. How can we, and how have you also supported yourself through the holidays as you're grieving?
Yeah. That can be hard. It's not all, with the Christmas checklist, I meant it to be inspirational so that people could have some hope and maybe find some peace and comfort. But I also feel that you do need to allow yourself space to grieve and to be angry, to be fearful, to cry. I mean, like I said, with my dad just passing, I just turned on the Christmas checklist the other night because I wanted to have that cry. Like, I just needed to have that cry, and I did. And like, it's okay to have that space to feel that pain, and maybe tell your spouse or whatever, like, I just need the space. I'm gonna go, I'm gonna be, I'm gonna cry for whatever, and not get dressed. I'm gonna stay in my pajamas all day today, and I'm just gonna grieve. I think it's important to honor whatever space you're in. So I don't want people to think just because, like, I wrote a movie about like a Christmas checklist, like with 12 activities that you could maybe do, that you have to do them, because you need to respect and honor where you are in that journey. And for some people, it's so fresh depending on when it happened and how close you were to your loved one, or how much you've experienced pain or loss. It depends on where you are in your journey. And so if you need to reach out, like I went to support groups, I had grief counseling, the hospice group that took care of my mom offered grief support. And so if you need to reach out to a professional, I also just want to make it clear that that's okay to reach out for help if you feel overwhelmed. And if you, like, I did become agoraphobic. Like there was a time after my mom passed, and I'm tearing up as I'm thinking about it, because I didn't even want to leave the house. Like, I was too scared to leave the house. Like, I just wanted to stay in my pajamas all day because that was my safe space, like just be in bed and stay there. And that was safe. And I had to like push myself to go out. And I had to talk to a grief therapist to talk about it, because I don't, some people can understand, some people can't. And so you need that safe place, maybe with a professional sometimes too, that can help you work through that and help you take baby steps to kind of venture out into the world, so.
I love, Lisa, how you just normalized that the feels are all okay.
Yeah.
Regardless of what they are. Like,
right.
No judgment, whether it's anger, sorrow, maybe you feel joy for one moment, maybe you go back to anger, like whatever
right.
it is, it's your own journey and it's okay.
It is. It's okay. And the other thing that popped up for me that's interesting is I know a lot of people, there can be a lot of guilt. Like, for example, you can have a moment of joy. Like I remember, decorating the Christmas tree or whatever, after my mom passed, and having a moment of joy, and then realizing like, oh, wait a minute, I just was laughing and I was singing, but my mom just died. Like, does that mean that I don't love her enough? Or like, does that mean that like, I'm not grieving? Like, I'm not like, so that you can have these moments of guilt when you have maybe a moment of peace or a moment of joy. And I also think that that's very natural. But the way I kind of looked at that when that would pop up is that, I know my mom, and I also know my dad, and I know all my loved ones, and I know that they wouldn't want me to be sad. And so they would want me to carry on with my life, to live my life to the fullest, to be kind to others, to be helpful to others, to laugh and to sing. So sometimes I just wanted to kind of bring that up, because I think that's a very real emotion of guilt that some people can also feel when they're grieving.
Mm-hmm. My heart just totally melted when I read, before your story, how you told your mom that one day one of your screenplays was going to be on TV, like the Hallmark that you and your mom watched.
Yeah. And it does hit me, and it makes me also sad. It's a wonderful, joyous thing, but it also makes me sad because she passed before I ever had any of my movies made. But again, if we believe in consciousness or whatever, I just feel like maybe she knows that my movies are out there and she's still proud of me, or, from wherever she is, and, from in heaven or whatever you believe. But we always, I think with parents, like as a child, no matter what age you are, I'm 54, and yet you still want your parents to be proud of you. Right. Yeah. And so, there's a little bit of like, if they didn't live to see you get married. I mean, a lot of people have lost their parents, before they got married, or they had a kid or whatever. And they feel sadness that their parent has missed out on, their first child or their marriage or whatever. But, again, I was thinking about a quote from Helen Keller, and I posted this on my wall on Facebook the other day, that it was something like, the love that you have between that person, even though they're gone, that it's always there, and it's always with you, and it becomes a part of you. And so that's what I try to remind myself in times when I do get sad, and I'm like, oh, I wish my mom could have, seen my movies or whatever. But that love and that nourishment and that belief in me, because she knew it was going to happen, and that belief in me, knowing it, like that love is always there. It'll never be gone.
Mm-hmm. How has the love, that spirit of your loved ones, still lived on within you?
Yeah. I think the love that my parents both gave me, they both gave me different values and different things, but it it has affected me and it has made me the person I am today. And so, like, I tend to be an optimistic and a bubbly person, and I do laugh and I do sing, and I think that's part of their nature that they gave me, and so I always feel like they live on within me, in those ways and the values that they gave me. Like I said, my mom and my dad were both very kind, and so that kindness of me wanting to give to others or animals or whatever the cause is, I think I got that from them. So that love will always be there. That those lessons that they've taught me, all the memories we've had are always still there, and they're a part of me now.
When was a time where love helped support you through your grief?
Yeah, I think the interesting thing, I think the love that you feel from either friends or families that are remaining can help you get through that. I'm going to cry because I have such a supportive husband, and he's been amazing through this whole journey. And I have a supportive family, father-in-law, mother-in-law, brother, sister-in-law, a cousin, aunt. So I have a lot of friends and family that, of course, when you lose a loved one, they rally around you, and that love lifts you up, because even though you're missing the parent or the person that you've lost, you realize the other relationships that you do have in your life, and those still go on. And I'm still thankful for those. And I still, thank God every day for, like, my husband and my family and my friends. And so I think that love can support you. And also, you can't see her, but I have a little rescue poodle. She's laying here right with me, and she's 11, and we just fostered her. I think we've had her about 8 or 9 months, and the love of a pet is so unconditional, and that helps you through too.
I have a little schnauzer, and so yeah, they just sit there, and you just feel so supported and loved.
Yes. And I feel like animals know, like, when you're sad. And so, like, I know with her, she's been giving me extra love when I need it. So
What's your dog's name?
Her name is April.
April.
Yeah.
We love April.
Yeah,
what a good
she's
helper.
A sweetheart. Yeah.
We're going to take it to the inner child question segment.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I don't know.
First question. What did Christmas feel like to you that made it magical when you were a kid?
I think, again, it was just the love of family and decorating and being all together, because my memories when I was growing up is just like me and my brother and my mom and dad. We were a family of 4, and we did have a dog, and we would get together and we would decorate the tree, and we would, be together, and we'd have dinner, and then we'd get up and we'd open presents together, and just, just the joy of all being together and giving one another, and the excitement of opening presents, but also watching people open presents. Like, even as a kid, I remember, like, we had this weird thing in elementary where, like, I think we had this, it was like a sale at the school where you could go buy, like, your parents' presents or something. And I don't know if they have that now, but this was a long time ago. But, you would have, like, I think I bought my mom this, like, thing that, in fact, I still have it. I'm going to grab it. But it's a little plastic thing, and it's so silly. It's like this little plastic thing, and it says "World's Greatest Mom" or "World's Best Mom." I think I bought this for $1 at, like, this little Christmas sale that we had, and she kept this, like, and this was in her room, and I took it out and I have it now. But so I enjoyed giving gifts and seeing people react to the gift that they received, even at a young age.
I loved that. I remember that as a kid too, Lisa, of
Yeah.
buying. My kids don't do that now, but I loved that.
Yeah. I guess it was a thing that maybe they don't do anymore. I don't know, but it was neat.
Yes, and you felt like, bringing your own money. It felt so
Yeah.
cool to go buy your own stuff for the people that
Right.
you love. Yeah.
Yep.
Second question. As a teenager, who was one of your celebrity heartthrob crushes?
Yeah, that's funny. I don't even know if people will know this person, but my celebrity crush was Sean Cassidy from the Hardy Boys. I don't know if you remember him, but he was like on all the teen magazines. I was so in love with him. I don't know.
No one said that, but me too. Nancy Drew Lover, but also Hardy Boys. Hello, yeah.
Isn't that weird? I mean, I think most people would be like, Sean Cassidy, you have to Google him right now, and maybe some people are.
Well, Melanie, let's bring up Melanie. What do you think Melanie thought you would say? Melanie Hepner made a guess on what she thought you would say. What do you think she said?
That's my sister-in-law.
Hi, Melanie.
And my mother-in-law is also on the call. But thank you for your support, everyone.
Do you have a guess on what you think she thought you'd say?
I think she would probably say Fonzie from Happy Days.
Ooh,
maybe.
Okay, here we go.
I don't know.
She guessed. I bet it was Donny Osmond.
Okay. That makes sense because he's also a singer, and yeah.
That's a fabulous guess, Melanie. Yep.
These are fun questions. I don't think I've ever thought about these questions before, or at least in a long time. So thank you.
It takes you right on back.
Yeah.
Oh, Melanie's saying, Melanie, either which way, she's saying, oops, that was mine.
She liked Donny Osmond. Okay, I'll remember that.
So I don't know if anyone else watched. I loved the Power Rangers when I was 13 and 14, and it was Tommy. I can't remember his name, but Tommy, he had long hair.
I don't remember that one, but yeah.
He was a good heartthrob crush.
Right. Yep.
You mentioned in the book, Lisa, a comfort food of mac and cheese. Now, is that just your character's favorite comfort food, or do you also have a liking to mac and cheese?
Yeah, it's kind of my guilty pleasure. I mean, it's like, I don't know, there's just something about a warm thing of mac and cheese that just it's just like, I don't know, it does. It's like the chicken soup for the soul, right? It's like, it's that warm, comforting thing. And so, yeah, it's like just a comfort food. So, yeah.
It feels, when you said that in the book, it just is like it's the inner child food, when you're having that fear or that sorrow, you're kind of diverting back to that inner child sorrow.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Or even like, like a grilled cheese, like my mom used to make us grilled cheeses and stuff. And so that would also be another comfort food. But yeah, maybe something from the past that you have fond memories of a parent or a grandma or someone making for you. And then when you're thinking about them, you're like, I want a grilled cheese or whatever,
Because it feels like they're right there in a sense.
Yeah, you're closer to them that way. Yeah.
I absolutely agree. What would you say is the oddest food combo that you've either liked and tried or you've just tried?
The oddest food combo. That is an interesting question. I'm trying to think because I don't really do a lot of adventure with my food. So maybe that's telling about my personality. I mean, I've tried like sauerkraut before and I don't really like it. I know my mom loved sauerkraut, but so that sauerkraut on anything I think I've tried and I was like, ugh. But so that's the only thing that really comes to mind right now.
That's a good pick. Just sauerkraut with anything. Just no.
Yeah.
No. Before we end today, Lisa, can you share with our listeners and viewers what living a creatively abundant life means to you.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I feel very blessed to be doing what I love. It's been a long journey, but I just feel absolutely blessed. Every day I wake up and I'm just so thankful to be doing what I'm doing. But I also feel like as artists or anybody that's creative, we also kind of have, I don't know if obligation is the right word, because that may feel heavy and like we're required to do something. But I just feel like if you're creative, um, if you can use your talent or your words or your stories to help others, then that's probably the best gift that you could ever give or ever have as your legacy, is to put your creation and put your stories with your own struggles, whether it be grief or maybe a health challenge or, a relationship or whatever, and put that out into the world. Because I really think we probably all have stories to tell, right? That would help someone else and that would also be cathartic, that would, by writing it down and even journaling about it, would help us, and that could also potentially help others. So I think it's a great honor to be a creative person and to hopefully inspire others with your words or with your stories or with your art.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Lisa. It has been an absolute joy to have you here with us.
Thank you, Lori. Thank you.
Where can our listeners and viewers find you if they have any questions after the show or would like to grab the Christmas checklist?
Yeah. If you go to my website, it's called thechristmaschecklist.com. You can find information about the book. There's an Amazon link on there. And then the Christmas Checklist, the movie, is airing, like you mentioned, on Amazon Prime. I also found out that it's airing on Roku as well. So if you have Roku and you want to watch it on Roku. But yeah, it's currently streaming right now. And so again, you can go to the christmaschecklist.com to find out more. And again, thank you so much. And also thank you for my family and friends that have showed up to support me today too. And thank you for what you do in the world.
Thank you so much, Lisa. And thank you so much for those who've joined us live and will join us on the replay. Remember, as you go about the rest of your week, to find the things that are working for you. You are the creator of your own story. What steps will you take next? Thank you, everyone, and happy Thanksgiving. Very grateful for all of you, and we'll see you next Monday right here at 12 o'clock p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Lori. Thanks.